Greetings, people. Steve Sweeney here with Headwaters for Heroes. We're back with another session of Conversations with Heroes. Today's session is brought to you by the G2 Ranch in Pearsall, Texas. I tell you what, that Don and Sandy Gilchrist down there have been very, very good to Headwaters for Heroes over the years, and it's really kind of fitting to have them as a sponsor on this particular session because today we have one of our heroes that actually hunted at the G2 Ranch, and we had a blast down there doing that. Sure. Today we have Sergeant Jacob Delagarza from Edinburgh, Texas, a Marine. You know, I tell you what, we get some interesting conversations with our Marines. Purple Heart veteran, single amputation below the knee. Is that your left leg?
Left leg,
yeah. So the people don't see it, but that is that, and we'll get into that, how all that happened and how you're doing in life and all that stuff. But first, you know, we like to give our audience a little bit of insight to you. You know, yeah, we said you're from Edinburgh, Texas, and my understanding is you're born and raised in Edinburgh, and you're still living there.
Yeah.
So tell us about being born and raised in Edinburgh, Texas.
Small town down south.
You guys are right on the border.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Born there in 82. There at the hospital. That's it. Yeah.
What high school did you go to in Edinburgh?
I went to Edinburgh High.
Edinburgh
Bobcats,
High?
yeah.
Bobcats.
At the time, there was only two high schools, just Edinburgh High and Edinburgh North, so I was Edinburgh High.
Cool. Now, you're not far from McAllen.
Oh, no, it's next town
over. Yeah, and then you're between McAllen and Brownsville.
Yeah.
So you're way down there south, and then that's interesting because, as we all know, and you know, we dabble in and out of politics and religion and stuff when we do these sessions. You know, there's been a lot of talk about border security, and you know, I don't know what y'all are seeing down there. You know, you're down there on the border, but you know, we hear stories.
Yeah.
And like you were telling us last night, you know, talking about some of your buddies that are in the Border Patrol and some of the things they're telling. So, you know, it's terrible we have that. But let's go back to you. You know, did you play sports in high school?
Yeah, I did. I played melee football and basketball, but I didn't play basketball my senior year. Yeah, those are the two main sports I played. Yeah, well, we did pretty good. Went to state semifinals my senior year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So any of you Edinburgh Bobcats out there listening to this, you know, this is one of your alma mater. So you graduate high school. Well, let's talk about your parents. Tell me a little bit about your whole family, your parents. How many brothers and sisters?
Just two brothers, no sisters. My older brother, his name's Javier. He's 4 years older. And my younger brother's a year younger. His name's Julian. My mom, you know, she's a great mom. Her name's Anita. And my dad, I don't really talk about him because he left when I was like 2 years old. So it's
unfortunate.
It's just been my mom. You know.
Well, you know, that's there's a lot of moms out there that have to fill in and do that, and it's amazing how strong we see these women become. And you know, in the military, you know, I talk from my experience of my dad serving, and when he was gone, deployed, maneuvers, whatever it was that he was out doing, you know, my mom had to raise 5 kids. So hats off to your mom, Anita. Our hats go off to her for raising a hero. So we're going to talk more about, you know, you as a person as we move through. So when did you decide that it was the Marines was for you?
Honestly, since I was small, you know, seeing those commercials, for some reason, the Marine Corps, it was just it just stood out when I was smaller.
Right.
You still have all their other branches, commercials, but for some reason, the Marine Corps one was always drawn to me. So I already knew if I was ever going to join, it would be the Marines.
That's and we find that with guys that go in the Marines, it's kind of the same thing. It's like it. It was funny when we were talking. We did a session last week with another veteran who was in the Army, and he admitted he was high when he walked in there. He'd been smoking dope, and he was high when he walked in there. But we find that most of the people that are in the Marines, it's kind of that's what I always wanted to be, and that's. I don't know if it's you want to be the badass, because that's what the Marines are all known for, being the badasses. So I don't know, but it's interesting. We do see that in the guys that we've interviewed that are in the Marines. It's something that's what I want to do.
Yep.
So as a kid, you were saying, if I'm going to join, I'm going to be a Marine. So what year did you actually sign up?
2003.
2003.
Yeah. So it was 3 years after my high school graduation. Just wanted to make sure my mom and everybody financially was good before I joined, and I had a car payment too, so just waited, and then I joined at 2003.
Well, that's something we don't hear, is being financially responsible. We don't hear that from a lot of Marines in the early days, but that's good. So how did your family take it?
My mom's always been supportive of no matter what I did, and I'm more of I'm not say active, I guess, more active one that she knew. More likely I was the one that, if any of us was going to join, it'll be me. So, of course, she took it hard, but she's always supporting me no matter everything I did. So, still to this day.
Awesome. So, you got shipped where for boot camp?
Went to San Diego.
San
California.
Diego. Was that a shock for you? I mean, had you ever been out of Texas before that?
No, never been out of Texas. Yeah. So, what was more shock is once you get in the bus, they start yelling at you.
So, you go to boot camp. They're yelling at you. What happens in boot camp? I mean, it's we've heard a lot of stories from different people, and everybody's take on boot camp is a little different.
Yep, correct.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with boot camp.
Honestly, I thought it was gonna be harder. But I said all my life I've been in shape, and I was running all the time. I loved running, so physical wise, I didn't think it wasn't that hard. You play sports, you have coaches yelling at you. It's kind of not the same thing, but kind of get the feel for it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really that hard to adapt. And I mean, yeah, they're yelling at you, but they have their reasons too. But yeah, all you gotta do is listen and do what they say, and it's kind of easier. The rest of the time there that you are in boot camp, it's easier once you listen. If you don't, that's when you do a little extra stuff.
When we're talking about extra stuff, we're talking about sit-ups, push-ups, running.
Yep. Whatever they feel like, doing, depending where you're at too. I mean, there's if there's a sand pit, they'll put you in the sand pit and do, crunches or push-ups there. It's just a little area with sand, where the pull-ups are and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I get it.
Yep.
So how long in? I mean, you get through boot camp, you're put into a unit, or I guess, where all do you go next?
Oh yeah, for me it was, it was 2003, so Iraq was pretty busy. So straight from boot camp, I went to SOI, School of Infantry.
Mm-hmm.
That was 0311, and yeah, right. Also 3 months, so 3 months boot camp, 3 months SOI. Then once you're done with that, you go to your unit, and I went to 3-1, which was just down the street from School of Infantry. So went to 3-1, checked in, and I only had about three 3 months of training before I went to Iraq.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it I mean, 3 months of training before going to Iraq? Did it? Did any of that training do any good with that short of training, or did it just soak in and you knew what to do?
It's tough. I mean, since I only had we had that little amount, I think they knew. So even at night, we're training at night when we're supposed to be not working. We'll make our own little um, makeshift houses and clear
Mm-hmm.
them and all that. Because I mean, my first deployment was Battle of Fallujah, so I only had 3 months to prepare for that.
So let's talk about Fallujah. And
Right.
it was bloody. It was terrible fighting. So going into that, were you prepared for what came next?
I don't think anybody was prepared for that, and I'm talking about even the higher ups. Uh, a battle like that hadn't been done since the Battle of Hugh City, World War II. So
Wow.
no one has ever
So
seen.
tell us about when you say not since World War II. Tell us a little bit about what type of battle was it?
Um,
I mean,
well, pretty much just house to house clearing. Every house is pretty much an enemy, so you got to be ready once you kick in that door. The tough part is um, I don't know if I could say this or not, but they didn't want us throwing grenades at the beginning. Unfortunately, later down, once we started losing guys, they're like, okay, use your grenades,
yeah.
which sucks. But yeah, a big battle like that.
So what was the purpose of the grenades? Is that to blow the door open? Was it to clear the room?
Clear the room,
Clear.
kind of. I mean, obviously, you throw it in, injure them, they won't be able to hopefully mess up their weapons or anything like that. So, and I could go into different tactics and stuff, to do, but um, obviously, if there's, they're most of the time they're just right in front of you. So try to do different entryways so they're not ready for you in that main door.
So who all were y'all looking? I mean, were you? Was it mainly Saddam's forces, or at this point, are we talking some of the other militias or some of the other? I mean, I don't know what was in Iraq, but what were y'all looking for? What
Uh,
type of person?
Well, main reason why we had hit that area is because it was supposed to be the headquarters for, at the time, was ISIS.
Okay, ISIS.
Okay, so yeah, it was their main headquarters was Fallujah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the main mission, was to kind of you know clear their leaders. So the way we did it is we're able to clear house to house because all the good guys were supposed to be out already, like the regular civilians. We gave them, I think, a little over a month. We had told them that we're gonna come through, so like that they could evacuate, and we don't have to, clear house to house and not hurt any civilians. So yeah, everybody was out, and whoever was left was considered enemy, So, which gave the enemy time to prepare for us,
Yeah,
And
knew you were coming.
yeah, so
But and we see this in some of the, basically in all the wars. I mean, they've dropped leaflets. They've said, "We're coming. If you do not want to die, you need to leave."
yeah,
And you're right. Then it leaves the rest. It kind of takes the guesswork out of it. But still, we've heard the stories of ISIS and groups that they still keep the women and children in front of them.
true.
How did you, when y'all are kicking in doors, you kick in a door, you got to make a lot of decisions real quick.
Yeah, especially when like I said, only 3 months of training is, it's tough. But good thing that in my situation, I never had to come up to where it was a kid, So in my situation, I never had to make the decision to take out a kid or not, So, but I know others have. in my situation, I didn't have to. They're all, uh, you know, military age males. We call them mams. So, they're 16 and above is what we call mams. And yeah, they're all fighters that we fought with. The ones that weren't, one day, pretty much all came with white flags. Surrendered, and they're all regular civilians. We put them on 7 tons and got them out of harm's way.
Tell me a little bit about your first gunfight. Tell me what it's like. The very first time y'all were in a gunfight. You going into it just only 3 months of training,
Yeah.
What was it like?
I mean, that's what we joined for, So kind of like excited, nervous at the same time, and I mean, once you kick in that door and rounds are flying, I don't know. Even though, like I said, I had a few months to work with it was just, just like we trained, just boom, stacked up, started clearing rooms, rounds coming down range, and you return fire, and like I said, the enemies they're smart too. You gotta outsmart them. So like I said, the first time we hit that house, there was the guys in the corners that in the room. So we kicked the door. They started firing. Got out. Moved a little bit, and then on the second guy's usually in charge when the clear. So once he nudges you, you go. So got the word to go. We went, shot, and we go as a team. So I hit the right corner. Second guy hit the second corner, took him out, and that was my first experience. Clearing. That was my first room clearance from Fallujah, and then after that, it's just continuous. You just same thing over and over.
Wow. Well, and it's a situation, and we saw. Well, I guess pretty much any war, our military. Vietnam, I think, was the worst, where you're a baby killer, you're this, you're that. I don't think it was. I don't think we saw that much kind of rhetoric from you guys coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, but it's tough decisions, and we hear about the stories of kids having bombs strapped to them and sent down the street. We hear stories of snipers that have to make a decision: do I take this kid out, or it's tough decisions. Because in that situation, I mean, what are you going to do? They're returning fire. You're just going to walk away?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to make progress if you just walk away.
Correct.
But, I don't see how anything can prepare you for that first time that you have to shoot somebody. Yeah, they teach you very well. They teach you technique. They teach you all that stuff. But you're not shooting people in boot camp.
That's true.
So it's to me, it's understandable, and we'll talk about PTSD throughout this, but it's understandable that affects people.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what you signed up for, and it's easy to say that's what you signed up for, but it's not as easy to do.
True.
And I could see where that could affect a person, but it's you were trained, you had everybody around you was trained the same way. You guys worked as a team, and it's for the greater good. So, how many of your guys? I mean, where was the worst time that in your time in Fallujah? Where I don't know, where'd you lose the most guys?
Well, I was the only survivor of my team, like towards the end. So, pretty much 2 days into it, we lost my point man and my assault gunner on one of the room clearings. So, pretty much it was a house uh, we're clearing this house, and they called us back to back clear some school, and so I was finishing up clearing the rooftop by myself, and then which you're not supposed to do, but yeah, I was clearing that, and the rest of the teams took off and they told them to clear this schoolhouse. So I heard them, so I started running towards them, and my point man and saw gunner were already stacked up, ready to go in, and yeah, once our point man kicked the door, there was 6 enemies there, and they had a blockade cement just shooting right at us once we kicked the door open. So we pushed in a little bit, and my point man took most of all the rounds, I guess you could say. And the second guy, which is Larson, he was my best friend. We came into boot camp together and all that. Ended up in the same team.
So was he, this Larson, was he from Edinburgh?
No, he's from Wheaton, Illinois.
Oh, you just met in boot camp and became friends?
We just, which is not long, but
yeah.
He was the second man, and like I said, their rounds were flying, and then our sergeant came to the window and told us to get out because he had seen we were outnumbered, and so I grabbed Larson from, there's a handle on your flak, so I grabbed him there, and we're shooting, and then he dropped right when I grabbed him, so they got him, they shot him in the neck, and one on the side, and so I pulled him out. There was a room behind us, so I pulled in there, and my sergeant started shooting at them while I was working on Larson, but it was too late. So,
I mean, and if you're okay with this, I'm going to ask this question. You just said Larson was your best friend from boot camp, and when we hear the stories of boot camp, it's basically, we've heard people say, well, the drill sergeants tell us, you look to the man to your left and the man to your right, those are your new best friend and family. Forget all your past. So, and I believe that. I mean, it's consistent what I hear of that. And you guys train together, and you're truly brothers at this point. How did that? I mean, how did that affect you? How did that feel?
Honestly, we had no time to think about it. Rounds are still flying at us. So, like I said, unfortunately, he had passed away. We're still getting shot at. So at this time, my sergeant's already with me. So it's just me and him in this room, and they're shooting. And then they stopped shooting. So we had a small gunner with us, a small team. So we're gonna shoot my sergeant wanted to shoot the rocket inside that room, and so that's what he did. We set up the small gunners. They shot in the room, and the building actually caved in, and all of them were dead except for one, and he eventually died.
Heart attack, lead poisoning.
But yeah, like I said, it's hard because I said once that finished, Humvee came, we loaded our 2 buddies on the Humvee, and that's it. The next thing is, it's just, hey, goodbye. Hopefully see you in the future, in heaven.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just bye. We had 10 seconds to say goodbye and start clearing again, room to room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's honor. What was his full name?
Well, that's Nick Larson.
Nick Larson.
Yeah, and our point man was Nathan Wood.
Nathan Wood. Well, those are our heroes in heaven, and we honor them. We'll miss them. So, and this is what I think. I don't. People out there, I don't think they quite understand. I mean, y'all are a well-oiled machine. You're well-trained. And some people are going to listen to what you just said and say, well, God, they're pretty insensitive. Do you have that time where you can reflect and mourn? It's easy for us when we lose a friend, a brother, a family member. we're able to mourn. We're able to process and mourn. Now, you're telling me that you didn't have time for that. It was the task at hand, the mission at hand called you, and that's what you're trained for. So, do you ever, or did you ever, do you still ever sit and think about those guys?
Of course, yeah. Quite frequent, just where they be, stuff like that. I know we'll definitely be friends still.
Right,
But,
right.
yeah.
Well, that's one thing we do see with the service members. It's like when you've been in that, you've served together, you never lose that friendship. You may have some distance between you, but you can always pick up that phone and it's like it's all rushing back. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I mean, it's usually tougher, like you remember them more when the days when they passed away, the dates, they call them anniversaries, Of course, those days are a little tougher than most.
right.
But, well, I know we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So
We'll get into all that. I will. So take us on through the rest. More about Fallujah. Tell us how things went.
yeah,
More deployments. You just tell us everything that went on.
Yeah, I said I was unfortunately the only survivor. So after that happened,
Well, so if you're the only survivor, you're put with new people, right?
well, just another team, same
Just
squad.
Same squad, people
Same
you
squad.
know.
Oh yeah.
So the adjustment's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but at the time, it was still me and my team leader, and then we actually got another guy from another squad, same platoon. Another squad came with us, so we could have a 3-man team.
Mm-hmm.
But 4 days later, he also was KIA, and so it was then me and my team leader, and then 4 days later after that, my team leader was KIA also.
Jesus. So, what are we talking a span of time here, where you've lost all these guys? I mean, we talking
Within 8 days.
Within 8 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. You saw a lot of loss of life in 8 days.
Sure did.
Wow. But you the part I admire is you're still mission oriented. You're still
Mission still got to go.
Mission still got to go. Wow. Now, during this time, are you able to have any communications with your family at home, or is it?
More with like my team leader Hanks. His sister's more involved. So yeah, we do. Mainly on Facebook. Still text message, make sure everything's good. Now Larson's family every year. They'll call me every once in a while throughout the year, but on the anniversary, I call them every year for sure. Yeah.
And that's got to be emotional for all of y'all. And that never goes away.
No, it doesn't.
We're going to talk more about that. So let's continue through your service in Fallujah.
Right. Yeah, once we lost my team leader, it was already towards the end of the push. I think we had about 2 more days, and pushed through. I got attached to another team, and once we finished through, we stayed at a flower factory, and that was our fob. From there, we'll just do patrols out of there once everything was cleared. Yeah.
So is Iraq the only place you were deployed, or did you go other places?
Well, once we settled in at the fob, we only had a month left to come back to the U.S.
Okay.
So actually, we're the first, within that month, first time the Iraqis were able to hold their election. So we actually protected them so they could have their first election.
We've had a couple of people talk about being there for the elections, and how incredible it was. We take it for granted, because we get to vote. But man, the first time they got, what was that like being a part of that?
At the time, you don't think about it, but I mean, now looking at it, I mean, it's awesome. It's historical for them, So it's a good feeling that we actually did help out.
That's awesome. So did you come back stateside after
I did.
that?
Came here, and then was here only for, I think, don't quote me, but maybe like 6 months, and then deployed back to Iraq. Yeah. So our area was the Haditha Barwana area. So we got there, settled in a school, and that was our thought from there. We just run out patrols. Yeah. Also, mainly sniper fires, IEDs, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy like Fallujah, but yeah, still some combat.
So things had slowed down quite a bit compared to what you'd been through.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you talk about sniper fires and IEDs, how did you handle sniper fire? Did you guys, what do you do in a case of sniper fire, I guess is the question.
Obviously, first get some cover or concealment, depending on where you're at. Sometimes you're out in the middle of nowhere, desert, and also it depends what you have on the radio. If you have artillery or mortars and you know where the snipers are coming from, then you take them out with that. A little easier, You don't have to lose men trying to get over there.
Right. Now, what about IEDs? We talked to some of these guys, the Marines that have come through, and they were, explosives. I can't remember what the title is, MOS is, but anyways.
EOD.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you had those type of guys around, or how did you handle? Were y'all searching for IEDs or?
Yeah, that's part of, clearing the roads and stuff like that. We're looking for IEDs. If we did find one, most of the time, EODs they're everywhere, so they're not with us. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, we'll get a grid coordinate and pretty much tell them where it's at. We'll mark it, make sure no one messes with it, and let the locals know where it's at. So kids won't play with it, stuff like that, and EOD will come later and dispose of it, depending on what we're doing, the mission. Sometimes if we have time, we'll just wait for EOD to get there, and then they do their thing, and then we continue our mission.
So is it somewhere in here, you obviously get hit by an IED. Mm-hmm. Was it on this deployment or?
Every deployment.
Every deployment.
Yeah, I got blown up in a Humvee. Good thing on the first deployment it was small IED, dug too deep, so just the tire flew off. So that wasn't bad at all. That was before Fallujah, entering Fallujah. Second deployment, there in Haditha, Iraq, our 7-ton, we're in 7 tons, and it got hit. No one injured badly, just bruises and stuff like that. Of course, now they're calling it now TBI from your brain, mm-hmm. From the IED. But 7-ton, we just got hit, got off, do what we do. Just at the time, if you got hit, we'll just get off and search any houses, looking for anybody with a detonator or anything like that. So, and then our third deployment, my AAV got hit. The driver had his head bashed pretty good, so we got him out, took him out, and then with that's the one I was telling you yesterday that caught on fire. Mm-hmm. So so when we got hit, I opened the hatch, which is the door in the back, and got off, and I was counting my Marines, and I found out one was missing, and so I jumped in the AV, and by this time the fire is already not too high, but you maybe like 2 feet, something like that. Even though in the AVs you got to crouch because it's not much room back there.
Right.
But yeah, Tyler Holstein, that was the Marine that was injured. He got thrown to, there's a little area by the engine, and he was there knocked out. So I pulled him all the way to the door, threw him on my shoulders, and took him to. We had a attached Army vehicle with us, and they have AC. But that was the vehicle we would take casualties if we had to. So I carried him to that vehicle, and then a first sergeant met me there, and he said he'll take care of him, and I went back to clearing houses. And yeah, that was my other IED, and then my final one was obviously my leg on my 4th deployment.
So, and I didn't mention this in the beginning, folks, but Jacob, you were awarded Purple Heart Medal twice. So, in which deployment did you get the first one?
In Fallujah.
In Fallujah?
Yeah, that's where. Well, they put me in for 5, but I got 1. Yeah, I don't need the other ones. Makes me look bad. That means they got me.
Yeah, it's like, wow, you don't dodge very well. Well, and so tell us, a little bit about, who put you in for 5? Because there was a lot went on. We were talking about this last night. There was a lot went on, and so how does that work?
I know one of them for sure is, like I was telling you yesterday, we're clearing this house, and enemies were in there. They had thrown a grenade, and it almost took out my eye. And once we took out the enemy and stuff, when we came back on the road, my gunny was right there at the time, Gunnery Sergeant Wilson. I think he's still in now. He's Sergeant Major. He saw me, and he's like, "Oh, I'll put you in for a Purple Heart for that." And I was like, that was nothing for me. So I was like, no, I don't, that doesn't deserve a Purple Heart. But I'm good, you gunny. And he's like, no, I'm still gonna put you in. And yeah, that's when I knew. Oh, he had told me that I was gonna get one. But later on in a reunion, a 3-1 reunion, he's the one that told me that he had put me in for 5. I didn't even know till he told me just recently. Yeah.
That resilience just to keep going when, and you may look at it and say, "Oh, it's just a scratch," but I get a cut and it's like, well, I need a Band-Aid, honey, give me a Band-Aid, But in war, you don't get to do that.
No, it's different. I mean, like you said, we're brothers, and there's no way, I'm gonna leave the fight, leave them on their own, especially when we need people, we're losing not just KIA, also wounded, that are really, really wounded. But if you could walk and you're good, then you stay with you guys, keep pushing.
I admire that. So let's go back to your now 4th deployment. What happened that you lost your leg?
My 4th deployment, I was in Afghanistan with 1-5 now. My other 3 deployments were with 3-1. So I was with 1-5. We were in Sagan, Afghanistan. We already knew where we were going prior to going there, so we were just getting updates of how the enemy was working there. And it was 3-5 that was there at the time before us. So that was the unit we were going to replace. So their leadership was just communicating with us, letting us know, how everything's working over there. So we had a good insight once we got there, of the enemy and how they worked. And yeah, I mean, it was compared to Fallujah, actually. So Sagan is also a historic, I guess, battle. They don't call it battle, but it's one to go with the Marine Corps history. Yeah. So, 2011 is when we deployed to Sagan and got there. do left seat, right seat, which the area you're at, that's where you're gonna be patrolling out of and stuff like that. So you get with their guys and they show you pretty much who the good guys are and what's going on, what's more likely you're gonna get shot at, stuff like that. Update you. And once they left, we took over. Literally 2 months into the deployment is when I got hit. We're going to a small little, I guess you could say, town or village, but a couple of houses, but hadn't really been occupied by any U.S. military yet. But it was just a big wall that kind of surrounded all the houses, so it was just one main entrance. So one way get in, one way get out. So we already know, that's not a good idea to go through there. But so we already had our stuff to blow up the walls and do a different entry and all that. But I holded my guys, but my point man, and we had a sweeper with them, so he's just sweeping down because there's so many IEDs. So he was sweeping, and them two didn't see me hold them, so they went through the kill zone, which is that main hatch there. And I hold my guys because I said, you don't want to go in through that one door. More likely they're gonna have an IED or something like that. And I was 1, 2. There was only one guy outside, and he was on the rooftop watching us. So that was another giveaway, like, something's gonna happen. And then, like I said, no kids were out playing and all that. So you already know something's coming up. So I went to go get my guys. I got them out, and right when I was leaving, they blew me up right on that entrance. I got up. I saw my leg dangling, so I made sure nobody else was injured. I looked around. Nobody else was hurt. So Doc was coming towards me to work on my leg. So once he got to me, he started working on my leg, and then I saw a rock fly over the wall. So I was like, that's weird. And then I saw another object fly over, and then I saw that one. It was a grenade. So I was like, oh. So it landed, not too far from us. So I grabbed my Doc and I covered him. So when it explodes.
Oh, no, hold on. So how do you have the wherewithal? You've just been witness. You've watched your leg dangling. It's severe.
Yeah.
But you're still checking on your unit, and now you see a hand grenade, and you're grabbing your Doc to protect him.
Yeah. I'm already injured.
But I get that, but how? I mean, I can't imagine. It's just I'm in awe, honestly. But it's like how does a person? What? I mean, I know you say we're well trained, but they can't train you for that. So what is it in you as a person that is so incredible that I'm blown away. To me, if I'm sitting there and my leg's blown off, I'm going to be screaming like a little ninny suck probably. But, you were still looking out for everybody else. Where does that come from? I mean, obviously your mother did a hell of a good job of raising you. That's one of it. But, is it your faith in God? Is it your training? What? I don't know of anything that can train you to do that. So where did that come from?
Honestly, I think that's all Marines. You're just trying to protect each other. So,
okay.
I don't know.
Okay, I can live with that. I'll live with that one. So, but I do want to back up and ask you one question. Having been in Iraq and Afghanistan, I've heard there were two different ways of fighting. And if that's the case, if that's what you saw, how hard was it to adjust?
I said I was only there for 2 months before I got injured. But I think in Iraq, they're more, guess more willing to fight harder. In my experience, because they would pretty much fight to the death, and the few months I was there in Afghanistan, the they pretty much they drop their weapons and blend in, from the areas I worked with. So yeah, totally different. Yeah, and like you said before, when I finished from, you were talking about Fallujah. Um, Same thing there. There weren't just Iraqis. There was Jordans, Israelis, that were fighting against us. So we once we push through, we have a team. I don't know what they're called, but they pretty much go and pick up the enemies and find out who they are, where they come from, why,
Right.
So yeah, that's how we found out they're all over the world.
Yeah.
Not just Iraqis. You would think that they're just Iraq guys they're bad guys, but they're from all over.
Well, then we're going to go back to the bombing and where you lost your leg, and I'm still just blown away how you had that. That is incredible. So was was Doc hurt?
No, once I covered him, it blew up. Then I got off, and then he started working again on my leg, and then now they're shooting at us now. So
Wow.
yeah, so my weapon's gone. It's not working. So I grabbed his while he's working on me, and I started engaging the enemy. But once I was just laying down fire so my man could, know where they're at, what they're gonna do and stuff like that. So I radio in. My two team leaders were, have their own radios, so we coordinated, how we're gonna attack them. And while I was doing this, a lieutenant was with us. He called in the helicopter, so so I just did a few shots, and then my squad was already down to, closing in on the enemy. So I put my weapon down. I didn't want no blue on blue. And then my squad went. They dropped their weapons and gave up the enemy. By this time, the helo landed, so I got up. One of my Marines, helped me. I hopped to the helicopter, and then once I got in, they put a mask and they knocked me out.
So you had no morphine before this?
Yeah, the doc gave me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but I'm still blown away. I'm still blown away. This is what you see in movies, people. I can just envision the doc is working on your leg and you're laying down fire. I mean, that's stuff you see in movies. That's incredible to hear. And we've heard these stories before. But to envision it, I just can't believe, as with a lot of our people that are going to be listening to this, how many of us would have that, that fortitude, just one, to keep going, but two, to take care of your brothers. There was no time for him even to say, "Hey, thanks, bud."
No, definitely not.
So, all right, they got you on the helicopter then, and you're out. So where do you wake up next?
I wake up in Bamshire. I think that was the name of the hospital. And then I was only there one day, and they sent me to Germany. And Germany, I was there for, honestly, just like 3 days also. And they flew me to Walter Reed, but I was only there for just, I guess, working more patients. And then they flew me to San Diego, Balboa.
Wow, that was around the world trip in a few days.
Yeah.
So at what point do you know you've lost your leg?
Pretty much like a few days in, from my leg, it was hollow. So all I had was just like an inch of skin all the way down to my foot. And then like from my upper half foot, I had my toes. But behind that, it was hollow. There was no meat. There was no skin. It was all gone. My calves, everything was gone. So I already knew. And the doctors told me, like, yeah, we could try to salvage it. And I was like, what for? There's nothing. I can't move my toes. I tried, and, it wouldn't move. So I was like, just cut it off.
Yeah. And we've talked to other veterans that they tried to salvage a leg, and then it seems like they're just constantly ridden with infections. And at the end of the day, they end up saying, take it. And once they do that, it changes their life, and they make progress and they move forward. There's a couple that I know personally that was that. But so your family has heard.
Yeah.
Now, were you married at this time?
Yeah, I was married.
Man, we totally blew over that because I think
I know.
and I apologize for that. That's because we did talk about that last night. So let's back up and talk about your wife. Y'all were high school sweethearts?
High school sweethearts, yeah.
And you got married
in 2003, right before
going to boot camp.
Yeah.
Man, that's got to be tough, to make that kind of decision. Well, I'm going to go serve, and I know our honeymoon's still going. But, so tell us about your wife.
Yeah. Well, she was surprised because I said we had just gotten married, and I just went to the office, Marine Corps office, signed up, called my wife, said, let's have lunch. And I told her I already signed. Yeah.
So there was no discussion.
No.
Wow, that's good for a marriage.
Yeah. Well, we're still together, so.
Well, then that's impressive. So how many years y'all been together now? I can't do the math.
Well, we're together since 99, but got married in 2003, so going on 21 years.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. And then in that process, now, how did I can only imagine what went through her mind. How did they notify her?
Well, through the military, your married wives get noted. They get the news first before your parents do.
Right.
So,
how did they come knocking on the door? How did that work?
She got a phone call.
A phone call.
Yeah.
That's pretty impersonal, but okay. So what went through her mind? Or do we need to get her over here to tell us that?
Well, probably shocked again because I said when I'm going back to Fallujah time, when I lost my first two guys, they called my wife and said I was KIA.
No.
Yeah, so she had, yeah. So immediately, I don't know how they found out, but my sergeant major came to where I was at in Fallujah, and they pulled me out, got a sat phone, and had me call my wife and my parents, tell them I'm alive. Yeah.
So how long was it before you were able to tell them I'm alive? I mean, we're talking hours, days?
Same day, but
same day.
It was a couple hours. Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't imagine the family, and I understand this happens, and I'm not being critical of the Marines on this, but God, that's got to be the worst roller coaster ride that anybody can imagine. I mean, okay, you're a Marine. You deal with stuff. I mean, you already proven that to us in this conversation. But the family at home?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, it happens, unfortunately. But this time, they just told that I was wounded, but I was alive. And I don't know how many days it was before I was able to call her and talk to her, but.
So now I'm assuming she meets you in San Diego, or?
Yep. Well, we're living there, so she was already.
Oh, okay,
there.
okay. You were deployed out of San Diego, so she was there. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So did she slap the hell out of you or anything the first time she saw you, or?
She should have.
Yeah.
I'll give her a reason to, But no, she was just happy and excited I was alive, and I said she's a great woman, and not many.
And what's her name again?
Priscilla.
Priscilla. Priscilla, we love you. And go ahead and slap him the next time you see him. And I know you got kids, and we're going to get into that. We're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to talk about kids.
All right.
All righty. Thank y'all. We'll be right back, people.